I'll now turn it over to Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky.
Thank you, Miguel. It's just a pleasure to be with all of you. This is part of a national day of action on the wonderful bill that we passed in the House of Representatives, the American Rescue Plan, which is now over in the Senate. But we didn't want to just talk about the bill itself. We wanted you to hear from real people on how they are affected. And to introduce them, let me introduce Lindsay Owens, who is the interim executive director of the Groundwork Collaborative. Lindsay?
Hi there. Thanks so much, Congresswoman Schakowsky, for having me, and it's really nice to be here with you all today. So I'll be introducing a few of the speakers today. We have Nicholas Helmer, the mayor of Prospect Heights, who was first elected in 2011, a graduate of Loyola University, and spent 35 years, my notes tell me, on the coaching staff at St. Viator High School in Arlington Heights. We also have Dr. Stephen Isoya, the superintendent, who was named the superintendent of the Niles Township High School District 219 in May of 2016. Before that, served as superintendent of Oak Park and River Forest High School District 200 for 6 years. And in 1998 was named Illinois Teacher of the Year by the State Board of Education and received the Milken Educator Award. We also have with us today Patrice Bell, a constituent of the Congresswoman's. She and her husband and their 3 children reside in Niles, recently moved to the area after they were stationed locally. Before the pandemic, Patrice was a teacher, and since then her family is down to 1 income, her husband's, and they've also added another child to their family. And she will discuss how her family will benefit from the stimulus payments, as well as the incredible child tax credit proposal that is meant to bring poverty down by half. And then we'll also have Shantania Jackson, a member of SEIU, who is working at a nursing home in Chicago. Thanks.
Okay, so let me just begin. I'll be brief. Again, it's Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky. And I think, as everyone knows, last week the House of Representatives passed the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan, and that money is intended to put money in people's pockets, to put shots in arms, and to put children back to school. And just a few of the highlights. $1,400 per person will be sent to families, and that will add up to, with the $600 that went before, the $2,000 that was promised. A very generous child tax credit that will absolutely change the lives, particularly of women, some men too, who have been home caring for children. Nearly 1 in 4 families in the United States of America, the richest country in the world, have experienced hunger in the last year. And we will be addressing that to make sure that people can put food on the table. It will also expand the pandemic-related unemployment benefits and extend them so that people aren't going to lose their homes and are going to be able to pay their bills. We also know that in that legislation, and we're looking forward to it staying there in the Senate, that the economy is estimated that we will be able to bring the economy back to near normal employment in a little over 12 months. But the other side of the story is, without the American Rescue Plan, the Congressional Budget Office estimates that it will take at least 3 years before employment reaches pre-pandemic levels. So this bill is so important for all of us to make sure that we really can not only stay healthy, but everybody get back to work. I could go into more details, but I think the point of this is to hear more from real people in real situations on how this is going to affect them, their lives, their families. So I'm going to yield back. Okay, Lindsay, who's going to be next?
Yeah, next we're going to go to the mayor.
He himself is right here and really enthused about what's going on. I must tell you that our city is small. We're not a home rule community. We have to struggle through certain issues. And of course, one of them is to generate money to run the business. Sales taxes are our primary source of income. And you can imagine when I look at my numbers, we have 6 hotels in our Prospect Heights. We're approaching about 17,000 people as people that live here. It's a small city, but it's a city that is well thought of, a great police department, and all the people that work here are enthused. But it's hard to be enthused when you don't have the income to take care of things that are so necessary. And one of the things that are so necessary is our flooding and zoning problems. We've been here about 40 years or so. I've been here, I'm on my 11th year serving as mayor. And it's not a struggle, but it's a challenge. And the challenge has to do with trying to take care of those people that can't be, they have to worry about the minute a raindrop falls, that they have to worry about flooding. I myself had my home flooded, and I know what it's like, and it's not pleasant. So this kind of money that we're looking at has been looked for the last 40 years. We know where the problems are, but we really didn't have the funds to fix it. When 6 of our hotels, who need to generate about 70% occupancy, that's when we actually can attain some revenue. They have been running through this COVID issue at 13%. They've had no money. They've laid off people. We have probably in the hotels themselves about 600 people that were laid off and are looking for jobs and hoping that they can come back. But we need to do and pay attention to the flooding. And we've had a program, we've had the engineering done, we've pulled money out of our hats to save $1.5 million. The job is $3.5 million. So my gosh, here we go. After all these years, we're going to be able to do that job and satisfy the worst flooding and drainage problems in our area. So a community part of Prospect Heights, of course, maybe about 68 homes, and they will benefit from this, and we will too. It'll teach us something, and we do what we can. We can't spend all the reserve funds, but we have to tap those to come up with our 1.5 million and other revenues that we've been saving. People don't get raises. People don't have the opportunity to gain better jobs on the marketplace for sure. And they've stuck with us because of people like Congresswoman Jankowski, who's been our friend for years, and at least longer than even that I've been in office. So this is a godsend for us, and it allows us to do things we haven't done before. When I started here, people said, Mayor, you're not going to be able to have any sidewalks, you're not going to have any lighting, and it's going to be a tough situation because you're not going to have piped in water on your half of the city. And we've done our best. It's gone well. We did save enough money for sidewalks. I thought it was important. We have 5 grammar schools here. and they all now have sidewalks from the main street to the school. So that's gone well. So if we looked, we found, and we've accomplished. And this will go, this money that we'll receive is the next step and a much bigger step that we've been able to take on our own. So I need to thank our Congresswoman. I need to thank all the people that have been involved in this, certainly our president, and we'll move forward. We'll keep up the good job, and we'll help anyone we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say you're scheduled for $1.96 million. So, that ought to help. So, Lindsay, let's move on.
Great. We're headed over to the superintendent.
All right, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Stephen Isoya, the superintendent of Niles Township High School District 219, and I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you to Congresswoman Schakowsky for inviting me to this press conference and to explain how this wonderful gift that we're getting in regards to additional monies to support students impacts our schools, certainly in Niles Township, and of course, we're in the 9th Congressional District. I'd like to start by acknowledging that District 219 schools are fortunate to be supported by a community with a healthy tax base, and these revenues keep our schools well-funded and well-resourced. But despite our resources, this past year has been the most challenging year that our educators have ever experienced because of the pandemic. Even given our sound financial status, the additional funding that our district would receive from the American Rescue Plan Act supports us to make the necessary physical improvements to our buildings as we bring students back for safe in-person learning, which we know is a goal. I can only imagine how critical this new money will be for many, many districts that lack the funding and the resources to get their schools ready to reopen or to simply increase their capacity, as we continue to do as well. Now, here are a few examples of some of the physical needs that we're addressing as we bring our students back safely. We're making necessary improvements to our ventilation systems, including installing hospital-grade filters in every classroom. We're buying and installing new cameras and microphones and monitors and other technology equipment in every classroom to make our hybrid model of in-person and remote instruction effective for all of our students. And we're installing protective plexiglass and providing personal protective equipment, as well as monitoring equipment for temperature checks and health certification. Even more important than addressing these physical safety needs is providing the necessary supports for our students who have had a different learning experience than what we typically provide, and one that is new to both students and teachers. And we must not only tend to their academic progress, but to their social and emotional needs as well. We are currently analyzing student assessment data to identify those students whose learning was most impacted by the COVID-19 public health emergency. We are developing specific academic supports and academic enrichment programs to help these students make what we are calling learning leaps forward. At the high school level, over the summer, we will be offering credit recovery programs to help students master priority standards in the specific curriculum content areas where they need additional support. This summer, we will be teaming with our partner sender school districts in our collaborative for curriculum to provide targeted support for elementary students in the core areas of math and English language arts. We are also investigating innovative ways to meet students where they are at, and from there, help them make educational strides forward. For example, we are in discussions with local universities in the hope that we can offer academic enrichment programs for our students at their institutions. We will also be offering additional professional development opportunities for our faculty and staff so they are better prepared to proactively reconnect our students to a rich and valuable school experience. It is important to acknowledge that the pandemic has magnified some of the inequities that our students and families experience, and that the funding could support and will support District 219 in our efforts to remove barriers and support students and families during such a crucial time. If there's one positive thing that has come out of this pandemic, it is the way the challenges to our so-called normal school day have forced us educators to find new and innovative ways to teach and to learn. The additional funding that would be made possible by this rescue plan will provide our schools and schools across the country, I believe, with the means to strengthen and expand these innovations in education. So thank you very much for your support.
Lindsay?
Thank you, Superintendent. Yeah, next we'll move over to Patrice Bell.
Good afternoon. I would first like to thank Congresswoman Skakowski for asking me to come and share my input and how the proposal will help me and my family. And I hope that my comments can help my peers understand and answer any questions, same questions that I even had about what's to come in this plan, as well as encouraging the Congress members back in DC to continue to work and do more for the American people. I know for me and my family, as they mentioned at the beginning of the pandemic, we were a 4-person household with 2 incomes, and we also lived in the South in Louisiana. And due to my husband's occupation, he's an active duty Marine, we had to move here, and we are now down to 1 income. And then on top of that, the pandemic and everything else. And so it is a great challenge for us to try to adjust and to continue to keep up with everything going on financially. So this plan that's coming out would, for my family at least, do a great deal of service. To help, try to keep up with the bills and help continue to prepare for things that are happening. Because now, not only do we have only 1 income, we're also a household of 5. And the cost of living here is vastly different from how it was in Louisiana. And so put all of those things together, most likely the individual payments and the child tax credit increase is something that would help my family a lot. So I can only imagine other families who have been dealing with other things besides the pandemic. I know we just went through this hard summer. A lot of families down where I'm from are dealing with the high electric bill costs, and they're dealing with still not having water, and they're dealing with, back payments of bills. And so I know the child tax credit increase can help people catch up to where they need to be so they continue to provide for their children. I know another thing that I've been kind of concerned about is my oldest son is now of age to start preschool. And with me not working, I have to figure out, well, okay, how I'm going to get the money to be able to send him to preschool, because preschool is not part of the guaranteed public education service for K through 12. And so once again, that child tax credit could help take care of that issue that we have coming up soon. I do hope that more is to come, because, these are just things to help get the economy to keep going. And we, like Congresswoman said, we wanted to get back to how it was in the least amount of time possible. And so, these payments, people have been patiently, but, eagerly waiting to see what's going to happen in Congress. I know I have. And I do hope that they continue to push the plan forward with all the things that needs to be in place to help the American people as best possible. And hopefully more will be coming afterwards as well. So that's all I had to say about that. And I do once again want to thank Congresswoman for having me here. And, I was, kind of shocked that she asked me to come. I just wrote her email asking, details and clarification about the bill. And they were like, well, yes, this is going to happen, but also would you like to? So I like to also say to my peers, if you ever have any questions, don't feel afraid or intimidated to email your congressperson. They should and will, get back with you. And just, if you have any questions, reach out to them. And if you're like Congressman Skakowski, they'll get back with you soon. So thank you once again for that. And I hope everyone is doing well.
Right.
Thank you, Patrice. And now we'll have Shantonia Jackson.
Hello, my name is Shantonia Jackson. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, Shantonia.
How you doing? I'm with the nursing home industry. I'm with SCIU, and this bill will help the nursing home industry quite a bit also because of the short staffing, infection control, PPE, those type of things. It can give more jobs to people. We can hire more people to do the 6 feet social distancing thing, which is needed because we're already short-staffed, within the nursing home facilities. So I thank you, Congresswoman, for inviting me up to speak. And I just say that, it would really, really help because when the pandemic first happened, I was working 16 hours a day, 7 days a week because everybody was catching the COVID. So, it was really hard, very stressful, but, somebody had to be here to do what we need to do to take care of our, residents. So I think the bill would be, fascinating because it can help with the nursing home industry, those type of things can really help out with the things that we need. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think I'm next. I'll keep it brief and then turn it back over to the Congresswoman and her team for questions from the press, if that works. So, really happy to be here today and just mostly wanted to say that, with this bill, I think it's really clear that Congress and the Biden administration have learned some of the hard lessons of the Great Recession. And the lesson there was that, going too small was the risky bet, not going too big. And the result was, a prolonged recession and a slower recovery that, time told really hit Black and brown families hardest, homeowners and workers. And so I think this, big piece of legislation really demonstrates that we've, are at least turning the page on the kind of economic approach that, Congress and the administration took in the Great Recession. Obviously, as folks have mentioned, critical pieces of this bill, the health spending on PPE, the state and local aid, which there's been a lot of chatter about whether or not that was too much. I think the case is pretty clear here today. That is really, really needed in our communities. The checks, the tax credits, the enhanced unemployment insurance, all are critical. And I would just add that, the bill, I think, is really a first step. This is about stopping the bleeding and, getting a hold on the pandemic so that the administration and Congress can move to that Build Back Better part of the agenda next. And I'm sure the Congresswoman has a number of priorities, but I think the goal here isn't to stop at January, a return to the January 2020 economy. It's also to address some of the longstanding issues, the climate change, the racial injustice, some of the income inequality issues, addressing our care economy, which we've clearly underinvested in. So really hopeful that we can move this bill, with the Congresswoman's work to the president next week and get going on the next piece of the agenda.
Well, I thank all the wonderful speakers who made great points. Well, okay, I guess we answered everything, but I really do want to say that these real world problems that people are facing, Patrice, I really appreciate that you said that people can call their member of Congress. And I'm hoping that as a result of these kinds of sessions all over the country happening today, that members of Congress will hear from their constituents of the great need for this legislation to pass. And as I said before, we're talking about 3/4 of American people who say they support this. That means that it's Democrats, Republicans, Independents, everybody. And there was a lot of controversy over whether or not we would, some opposition, especially from the Republicans, that only from the Republicans actually, that state and local money wasn't necessary. But as you heard, homes have been flooding, layoffs have happened of frontline workers, first responders, many communities. And as Lindsay pointed out, many communities, especially of color and low income communities, have really been struggling. So this bill is going to make a huge difference in the life of families, of businesses, of our country. I'm so happy to hear that some of the students are back as of Monday. Superintendent, that's great. I certainly wish them and you well. I'm sure those that can go back are pretty excited, are excited about it. I want to say that when it comes to nursing homes, I think that this pandemic has exposed a lot of the problems that have been faced in our long-term care facilities. And one of them is the lack of adequate payment, I think, for the workers who suit up every day, go into a dangerous situation for months, have not had the protective gear that they need, the PPE. And I hope that when we can take a breather here and talk about a real long-term care policy for the United States of America that includes the due respect that the workers in those in your homes deserve. I'm just really happy that you were all here.
Congresswoman,
Yes.
I think Patrice has a question. Patrice, if you want to ask what you
Sure.
just asked in the chat.
Yes, in the chat I wrote, is this stimulus plan anticipated to be the last plan? Or do you think that based off, data and as things progress, will there be another stimulus plan to be proposed later in the year?
Actually, thank you so much for that question. We call, we're calling this the rescue plan. This is just about saving people's lives in the pandemic, saving people's lives so that they can put food on the table. So this is just to plug some of the holes, and we need the $1.9 trillion to do that. Coming next will be the Build Back Better. That is an infrastructure plan that can create millions and millions of jobs, because that's where we really need to go. That bill is in the works right now. My understanding is that we're going to see something on paper maybe by May 5th. But we are absolutely going to be moving ahead to create a lot of green jobs, a lot of infrastructure programs that have been waiting to get done for way too long, that are going to not only put people to work, but help us save the environment as well. So that's being teed up right now. I see one of your members of the family is contributing to this conversation too. That's good. Anyway, so that was a very good question.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody? Okay. Thank you so much.